I'm Danielle, your host of the Abridged to Motherhood podcast, the place where moms like you learn to thrive, not just survive through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. I'm a birth and postpartum doula and a mom of two who's been where you are. My first pregnancy was filled with so much excitement, but it was also marked by stress, anxiety, and fear of the unknown. I thought I had everything mapped out, but when postpartum hit, I realized how unprepared I was for the physical, emotional, and mental toll of motherhood. It was overwhelming, lonely, and nothing like I imagined. When I found out I was pregnant again, I knew I needed to approach things differently. I made it my mission to not only prepare for postpartum, but to prioritize myself in the process. That shift changed everything. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Whether you're navigating your first pregnancy, feeling buried under endless advice, or struggling to figure out what you actually need for postpartum, this podcast is your safe space. You'll find practical tips, honest conversations, and expert insights to help you feel informed, supported, and empowered through every stage of motherhood. If you're ready to feel confident, prepared, and truly supported in your motherhood journey, stick around. This is for you. Hey friends, welcome back to the Abridged to Motherhood podcast. Today is a very special episode. This whole month is really a very vulnerable discussion for me and my family. May is Maternal Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we're going to kick this month off with my favorite counselor, Brittany. She is talking to us all about baby blues versus postpartum anxiety, depression, perinatal mental health disorders, kind of how to know when to get help. And then I'm going to share more about my story next week. My mom is coming on and my husband is coming on. We're just going to kind of talk through exactly what I was experiencing, how we knew when it was time to get help. We were kind of fish out of water. There was not the resources that there are now, but also I think when you're going through a crisis situation and you're dealing with mental health, it can be really hard to know where to turn. So I'm really hoping that this series will speak to the right people, reach the right people. And if you are somebody that is struggling, just know that you are not alone. The statistics say there's 1 in 5 of us who have some sort of perinatal mental health disorder going on, and I want you to know that help is available and that you will get better. That even though it seems like right now it's never going to end, here I am standing before you 8 years later, thriving in motherhood and in my life, and didn't have the same experience with my son and was really able to grow out of this experience. So I want you to know that there is hope on the other side. And before we dive in with Brittany today, I just want to remind you a little bit about who she is. She's the owner of Cocoon and Bloom Collective. She's a licensed professional clinical counselor with supervisor designation and nearly 15 years of experience in the mental health field. She has a master's in clinical mental health counseling from Cleveland State University, and she earned her perinatal mental health certification in 2021. She supports individuals and families through their reproductive and parenting journeys, and it's not just her profession, it's her passion. So whether you're navigating the joys of new life or the grief of loss, she offers compassionate, knowledgeable care for healing and connection. Her own path through infertility, loss, and motherhood deeply informs the care that she provides. She works with moms and birthing partners as they experience pregnancy, birth, postpartum, infertility, miscarriages, and all the complex realities that come with building a family. Whatever chapter you're in, you don't have to go through it alone. And that's what I want to reiterate before we dive into this episode today. You do not have to go through this alone. Brittany, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. I am so excited to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about the difference between baby blues and perinatal mental health disorders. So I think just to start, could you just explain that difference for the average person that doesn't really know the difference between the two?
Baby blues are very common. They usually happen a couple days after birth. You start feeling worried, a little down, right? Like flu, and it's usually short-lived, maybe a couple weeks, less intense, doesn't really impact daily life. Maybe you're just a little taken aback by feeling down instead of feeling super high, right? Because you just had a baby and all of that. It's a lot of the hormone changes and such that are happening in your body. Something that would be more serious, like postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, usually happens a little bit later. It's, we're looking at a week, 3 weeks, a month. It really can happen up to like a year postpartum. Say primary onset is within the first month or so. And this is much more intense symptoms of sadness or anxiety, crying spells, maybe panic attacks. And one of the biggest differences is the impact to your daily functioning. So this is loss of interest in activities, maybe feeling disconnected from your baby or your spouse, feeling like you're not a good mom. There's a range of severity there, but I usually tell people that the main indicator is it impacting your ability to function on a day-to-day basis? That's kind of like the tipping point.
You talked a lot about maybe some of the more like internal symptoms, but there's also like external symptoms too that I think sometimes people can confuse for being something else. And I know I experienced that with my postpartum depression and anxiety too. So I'd be curious what you would say were some other symptoms that moms could be on the lookout for.
hmm So I would say spacing out, just seem like they're not present with what's going on around them. Maybe they're fearful to hold the baby. They're not interacting a lot with the baby. Anger outbursts, sleeping more or less, which is a hard one to peg down at this stage.
Hmm.
So if you have a baby that's not sleeping, you're going to be tired, right? Um, it's not it's not abnormal to maybe have trouble going to sleep because you're a little worried. We've all been there where we're looking at the monitor and we're trying to see if their belly's going up and down and if they're still breathing. I would say that like again, the tipping point is, are you like suffering from insomnia because you're so worried you can't sleep, or if they're sleeping a lot during the day? So those appetite changes are something to look out for. If you're breastfeeding, you are going to be more hungry, but a lot of times it's not, your husband may notice or something that you're eating a lot, but other people may not notice as much if it's strictly the breastfeeding thing or if you're not eating enough. Our bodies just went through a huge stressor or a major surgery if you had a C-section. So it needs fuel. So if they're not eating, that's another indicator. Also, the way that a mom talks about things can help other people peg down something's going on. If they are talking about not feeling connected to their baby, it doesn't, that connection, however you want to describe it, doesn't always happen right away. So it's okay if you come home and you don't feel this overwhelming maternal bond with your baby right away. But if the person is voicing they feel disconnected and they're voicing that they don't think they're a good mom and they're voicing these helpless, hopeless ideas, that would also be a red flag for me.
Hmm. I remember very vividly telling my mom, I'm not a good mom. I can't do this. I need you
Mhm.
to take the baby. And that was her moment of like, oh, okay, something's not right here, you
Yeah.
know?
Another thing is like weird behaviors. So what I mean by that is it's okay to feel anxious that you're going to walk down the stairs with your baby and all of a sudden like forget how to walk down the stairs and fall. And instead of holding your baby, you're going to throw them and they're going to die, right? Those are intrusive thoughts, but they happen. They happen. Our brains are constantly scanning for danger to help keep us and our baby alive. Primitive thing in the back, way, way back, you were scanning for real dangers, animals or whatever. We don't really have that going on. So having that intrusive thought and being like, well, I'm gonna just go really slow, that's okay. But if you see the mom like scooting on their butt or refusing to carry the baby up and down the stairs,
Mhm.
that could also be something to look into.
Or sometimes refusing to leave the house. I've seen that before too. And
Hmm.
not in a like, oh, I want to lie in with my baby way, but like, oh, I'm scared to even
Yes.
open the door and go outside. I think you touched on it a little bit about like these bouts of rage, and I think postpartum depression and anxiety get a lot of airtime, but there are other perinatal mental health disorders like postpartum rage, postpartum OCD, postpartum psychosis. Could you just touch on those a little bit too? Because I think sometimes moms think, especially with postpartum depression, I think that's the one when people hear like postpartum,
That's
that's
what
what
they
they
think.
think of.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, can you talk about some of the other ways that these postpartum mental health disorders might manifest themselves?
So I think one of the things, I guess, just in general about OCD, people don't realize is OCD is not just checking to see if the stove is off 100 times or flipping the light switch or washing hands repeatedly. OCD can also be internal. It can be compulsive or obsessive thoughts.
Hmm.
um, if I think this way, then this is going to happen. So I have to try to replace my thoughts because if I keep thinking this way, then something bad's going to happen, or I'm going to think it into existence or something like that. So postpartum OCD can be that my thoughts are going to cause harm to my baby, or it could be the way they take care of the baby, the order of things that need to happen when it comes to the baby. I think again, we there is this need to have a routine with babies and a schedule. Newborns don't, they didn't sign up for that. So we can get maybe obsessive about that to the point of, it being problematic,
Hmm.
and not being able to be a bit flexible when your baby's thinking other things. Germs and contamination is one that is probably more common when it comes to postpartum OCD. It can be harder for someone who is on the outside looking in if it's more thought-based.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can't see it. So
Mhm. Yeah.
it really has to be mom opening up and sharing those thoughts. And that
Hmm.
leads me to, I feel like a lot of us want to minimize what's going on in our heads. And a lot of it's fear-based because we're afraid if we say something, then someone's going to take our baby. And like that's part of the anxiety loop,
Hmm.
right? What would you say to that mom? Like how can she know I need help and I don't need to just like push through this? Like where is that line? Because right, there are less severe cases and there are more severe cases, but I know you talked about like when it impacts your daily life, but what if you're like on that cusp? Like how do you know you need help?
Well, therapy does not have to be reactive, it can be proactive. So you can go to therapy to kind of cut off what's going on at the past before it crosses into the diagnosable territory or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Because also these are perinatal mental health disorders. So this can happen before the baby even comes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of anxiety around the baby even arriving. Getting into therapy, you don't have to already be struggling for therapy to be appropriate. Also, thoughts are not behaviors. Just because you're having weird thoughts or scary thoughts or strange thoughts or thoughts that make you feel guilty, that does not mean that you are behaving in a way that your child is unsafe.
Or that you're going to act on them.
Yep. Just because you think it doesn't mean you're going to do it. It's really, there is no line. The idea is if you are even thinking, I wonder if, the answer is probably yes. Go do it. Even if it's a couple sessions for you to be like, okay, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe, maybe I'm doing all right. Maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. Because also, I think it's great that we are talking about all of this and we're being more open as a community of moms about these crazy thoughts we have or these feelings we have that don't feel good and make us feel guilty and all of that. I think that can also create this fear of being someone who gets a perinatal mood or anxiety disorder. So that can also, in and of itself, cause anxiety.
Absolutely. You're so right with that. And I think moms don't realize like there's a varying levels of like treatment and different ways to get treatment too. So, in your experience, what are kind of some systems, different treatment levels that moms can search for if they're struggling?
First and foremost, there are a lot of support groups that are starting to pop up. You have one, I have one.
Hmm.
So, a support group is a very non-committal approach to building support and building community. And it's not, although a professional may be running it, it's not receiving services from a professional. It's just meeting with other moms. So there's that. There are lactation consultants. They do some groups. I know in our area, there is one that does the milk time meetups and whatnot. And you don't even have to be breastfeeding to join. That's her business, but it doesn't matter how you feed your child. You're welcome to join those groups and show up. So the group setting, I would say, is one of the most minimally invasive approaches.
Hmm.
Uh, and then you have us therapists who specialize in the perinatal population. There is the perinatal mental health certification from, Postpartum Support International, but you don't have to have that to be trained to support this population. So PSI has a great search engine to find therapists who specialize, but you're not, you could still get a good therapist without them having that certification. There's also medications. Sometimes if you're someone who has a history of depression or anxiety or any other the OCD or anything, the doctors can start you on a low dose before the baby's even here. So that way it builds up in your system. You can start it postpartum. There's a lot of medications that are safe. There is a new medication out that's FDA approved specifically for postpartum depression that you can take. It is a 14-day pill. So you can always ask your doctor about that. There's a lot of supports out there if you look for them.
Yeah, and then I know on the more severe end, there are inpatient programs and outpatient programs. And I've even seen more places doing outpatient mental health programs, but virtually too.
Yes.
So you can be home with your baby. These therapists that are trained in perinatal mental health, they're going to tell you to bring the baby. They, so many of them offer virtual appointments. Like the barriers that used to exist prior to COVID, I think are kind of gone at this point. Like if you need help, you can get help
Yes.
virtually.
I have a box of toys in my office for
Mhm.
when the kids come. And we're doing therapy on the ground. We're not sitting on our chairs. I'm pushing the table and, we're playing with the baby while we're talking. So it's definitely accessible. We're definitely trying to break down those barriers and get into the homes of these moms, virtually or what have you, so that everyone can feel supported.
Absolutely. And reach out to your local community groups like Brittany was talking about because local counselors, local postpartum doulas, birth doulas, a lot of us keep reference lists that are specific to your area where you are. And like Brittany mentioned too, Postpartum Support International has this great directory that you can search. And it's not, I believe it's not just therapists, it's like psychiatrists too, right? There's other types of
Yes.
clinicians on their
Yes,
site
it's not just therapists, correct.
that all have this perinatal mental health certification
And they
as
have free
well.
online support groups
Hmm.
for anything under the sun related to perinatal. I don't have the specific name or information, but I do know I've had one or two clients of mine in the past who, whoever their pediatrician was, their pediatrician did the check-ins, the baby, at whatever I should
Well,
know.
baby visits.
Well, thank you. Yeah, as groups.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And, that was here in the area. I don't remember which doctor it was, but I think that is so outside the box. Like, yeah,
Yes.
let's do that. Let's get these moms who have babies who are similar ages together and
Hmm.
create that connection and that support system.
Yeah, I know in our area, the Cleveland Clinic, the midwives do these centering programs. So throughout pregnancy, you're with the same group of moms and then they meet postpartum as well. And that's a great way to connect. So that's something to look into in your local area. When we are struggling with our mental health, isolation just makes everything worse.
It does, yes. And I think with the increasing stress of life in general, due to social media and responsibilities and all of that, it's becoming more and more prevalent. I think it's
Hmm.
like 5 women will experience a postpartum mood or anxiety disorder. And I think only half of them receive treatment, if I remember the statistics correctly.
I just want to end with you like talking to that mom that's struggling. So if she's hearing herself in this conversation and she's feeling that fear, maybe some shame, what would you want to leave her with today?
I think what I would say is that anxiety lies to you, depression lies to you. They want you to feel guilt. They want you to feel shame to keep you stuck in the cycle. And telling someone what's going on is going to free you from the guilt and from the shame. And if you thought it, someone else has already thought it. If you've had those concerning thoughts that scare you, you're not the first one to think that. And just because you're having those thoughts doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. And talking it out can be so healing. Knowing you're not alone can sometimes be all you need to start feeling better and things starting to work themselves out. And none of us who are here trying to help moms or their partners or anything, we are not in the business of making things worse. We're not in the business of locking you up in the psych ward. We're not in the business of calling children's services. Those interventions are for extreme circumstances where safety is concerned, where we think that if we don't do something right this second, something terrible is going to happen. That doesn't happen. I think moms worry that extreme circumstances are going to happen, and that's exactly what they are. They're extreme.
Hmm.
They're rare. So just reach out, asking for more information from a therapist or asking for more information about a support group doesn't commit you to anything. And if you have information, then you're going to make an educated decision about what you need to do.
Thank you for that. And I know a mom that's listening is going to need to hear that today.
Mhm.
And I know you've been on the podcast before, but share again all the ways that they can find you and connect with you. And if you're local to the Cleveland area, you can get in-person care from Brittany as well.
Yes. So my practice is Cocoon and Bloom Collective. I have a website by that name. I also have Instagram and Facebook. You can reach me by email at brittanyk@cocoonandbloomcollective.com. I do individual therapy in person, virtual. I'm doing a support group for moms of young children. There's really no age limit, but is geared towards moms with younger children or babies. And it's every other Tuesday here at the office. It is in person at 7 o'clock, but it's a really good time. And I feed you. I give you, like, we have snacks and all of that. And so it's a really good way to connect with other moms. So yeah, that's what I've got going on over here. Feel free to connect in, whatever level of support someone needs. I'm here to help. Even if I'm not the right one for it, I'm gonna keep in touch with you and make sure that you get connected with something.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for your time, Brittany. Before we close today, I also just want to let you know that I created a free resource a long time ago, actually. It's called the Mental Health Toolkit, and you can get that at abridgetomotherhood.com/toolkit. Basically, it's just a huge list of resources that I have curated from my work as a postpartum doula and as someone who walked through postpartum depression and anxiety. It has that PSI link directly on it. It has books I use, podcasts I listen to. It has a quote from my husband and my mom. It from clients that have used different resources that I've suggested to them. So again, a completely free resource. If you are struggling, please go download that, and I really hope that it blesses you. Thanks so much for tuning in to the A Bridge to Motherhood podcast. I'm so glad you were here today. If you loved this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review for the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. Share it with a friend or snap a screenshot and tag me on social media. If you decide to leave me a review, go to abridgetomotherhood.com/review. That link is also in the show notes so that I can send you a little gift in the mail. Your support helps other moms to find the podcast, and it truly means the world to me. Remember, your motherhood journey deserves your care and attention. Until next time, keep showing up for yourself, mama, and don't worry, I'm here to help every step of the way. See you soon.